The 2023 F1 season is about to start. We've seen all the cars, we've heard all the talking around the test days, and we know absolutely nothing about who is on top or who will win the first race. So let's focus on something that we do know, how the 2023 F1 cars look. After all the F1 cars for this year have been revealed, we asked over on the Goodwood Road Racing website for you to vote for your favourite livery, and we were inundated with responses. Literally thousands of you voted. So thank you, and we were pretty surprised by the results. So here, as voted for by you, are the 2023 F1 liveries ranked. And if you do enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button. If you don't enjoy it, it's your choice. You are the ones who voted for it. So, in that case, definitely subscribe and see the rest of the stuff that we do. Who doesn't like pink and blue? Well, it turns out about 96% of you lot. ALPINE, as last year, has two separate liveries this year, a standard majority blue with side pods of pink and a special edition for the first 3 races in all pink thanks to title sponsor water company BWT. We quite like the look of the A523. As with everyone, there's a fair amount of bare carbon, but the positioning of the blue and pink hide it well. ALPINE blue is, it's always a lovely colour, and the massive splashes of pink brighten up what was becoming a remarkably uncolourful paddock this year. But you lot clearly disagree. Let it be known to the world, in 2023, pink and blue, they don't go together anymore. Bright green with even brighter green. You couldn't even vaguely argue that either of these colours is truly British racing green, but that's mostly because British racing green is actually quite dark, and quite dark greens don't really stand out on camera, or rather sponsors don't stand out particularly well on dark green. But maybe it's time for Aston Martin to go back to its traditional colour, as currently only 5% of you said you thought that it looked better than the rest. Of course, if Fernando Alonso is holding his 3rd World Championship aloft come the FIA Awards Gala in December, then everyone will claim they've always loved it, and it was everyone else who voted for the other cars, not them. Perhaps it's familiarity that has bred the apathy. The cars that have changed their livery relatively little all seem to have garnered some of the lowest numbers in our very scientific poll. Now, if you were asking me to rank the liveries rather than just report on the Goodwood Road Racing audience's decisions, see, your fault, the MCL60 would be the car taking up the bottom slot on this list. Don't get me wrong, I love papaya orange. I think the mix of orange and blue look great. But look at the awesome Vivid 2020 car with its massive bright splash of orange and the lovely clashing blues, and then look at the MCL60 and the new car looks a bit drab. McLaren are possibly the biggest victims of the desperate dash for crash diets that the F1 paddock has undergone this year. The new cars are heavy, and most teams are chasing weight loss to such extremes that they've stripped paint, or rather wrap, from large parts of their cars. McLaren has done this so strongly that we can only count 9 areas of papaya on the car, which is a shame. Obviously, the cutback in paint hasn't chimed with you lot either, as the MCL60 garnered less than 6% of our vote. People can complain all they like about Red Bull's liveries year after year, but the team is just never going to change them. Tweak? Yes, but I'm afraid total change isn't coming. There is good marketing value in a strong brand identity, and the Red Bull has that in spades. Actually, if you look back through the ages, some of the most loved liveries of all times have been the ones that never really changed, like Martini or Rothmans. But for some reason, unless you are actually a Red Bull Racing fan, the continued similarity of liveries from Milton Keynes does not seem to inspire the same love. I mean, that probably won't hold Max Verstappen back, mind. I quite like the HAAS. And there are now 3 cars with reasonably similar colour schemes on the grid, so I'm quite surprised one of them has fallen a little way behind the others in this list. The HAAS VF23 is a development of the livery we've seen over the last 2 years, starting with the definitely not a Russian flag based one from 2021, losing the blue and adding some black last season, and now with a lot more black creeping onto the car. Black and white has always been a good combination, and red cars are quick. So hopefully the VF23 will be as well developed as the one that saw Kevin Magnussen start the Brazilian sprint on pole. But it's not really chimed with you lot, so HAAS sits on just 6.5% of the vote. Before we move on, don't forget that if you do enjoy this video, hit that like button. Remember, you guys came up with it, so if you don't like it, what's your problem? And then, subscribe to the channel, and you'll see everything we do here at Goodwood Road Racing. Also on 6.5% is Williams. The 16-time F1 champion turned back row filler hasn't changed its livery much for 2023 and does look a bit like a generic livery you'd see someone using in an Assetto Corsa lobby, and I say that as someone who has held a soft spot for Williams since Nigel Mansell and Red 5. Williams was the first team to begin stripping paint off its cars to save weight and hasn't turned its back on the plan for 2023. The rest of the livery is even more bare in 2023 with the loss of various sponsors that came from Nicholas Latifi, but there is some hope on the horizon. The switch from McLaren to Williams by Gulf Oils has brought suggestions of a special one-off livery at some point this season, something we would probably not be averse to becoming more permanent. It's time to make Williams liveries great again. You can guarantee that a red Ferrari will turn up every year, and you can guarantee that fans of Ferrari will love it, and you can guarantee that others will complain that it's just another red Ferrari. To that end, 8% of you thought the SF23's red and black hue was the best on the grid, and 90% of you disagreed. Actually, I think it looks pretty good. It reminds me of the red and black Ferraris of the early 1990s, but I can't help but think that the sports car team is just doing it better right now. The 499P, with its lovely splashes of yellow mixed in, looks awesome, and at Monza last year, simply writing Ferrari in yellow on the 2022 F1 car transformed just another Ferrari into a lovely thing. If it's fast, we won't care. If you love Ferraris, you won't care. But it feels like a bit of a missed chance to us, and the fact that a Ferrari has gained less than 10% of the vote suggests that some of you might well agree. Only 2 cars have managed to get over 10% of the vote in our poll, which did actually surprise us a little bit. But perhaps showcases that the rush to remove paint on so many cars has not really gone down particularly well with you lot. The last of the sub 10%ers is Alpha Tauri. We're not too shocked by that. The team formerly known as Toro Rosso, or alternatively titled Good Minardi, has had a good livery ever since it was rebranded as a clothing company. The weirdness this year is the addition of red to the blue and white, which certainly stands out, but maybe that's why you lot like this more than most. The car is now a lot less white than it was with the extra bare carbon, so the big white nose really stands out. I think I like it, but I'm not entirely sure. The prize for best hiding of the fact that you've stripped paint from the car to save weight goes to Mercedes, which has ditched its silver and gone back to black for 2023. Actually, barely any of the car has livery on it at all, just a small tube of wrapping along the centre of the car with sponsors on it and a slice of Petronas blue. But as we saw with Mercedes in 2020 and 2021 when it went black after the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, an all-black Mercedes just looks good. We would point you in the direction of the Sauber Mercedes C8 we've had at the Festival of Speed recently for more proof. There's quite an interesting connection here, given that the probably apocryphal tale of how Mercedes became silver is that the white paint was stripped from the car to save weight back in the 1930s, showing us bare silver metal. Now it's silver paint being stripped to reveal black that sends the silver arrows down that darker path. And you guys, well, you certainly approve. Nearly 20% of you voted for it as the best, which is nearly double that of the car that came third. And, drumroll please, the winner is your favourite livery of 2023, the Alfa Romeo C43, which, well, that surprised us, to be honest. A snap poll in the GR&R office brought a reasonably negative response to the C43's red, white and black livery, with one team member professing to have initially liked it, but grown to really rather dislike it. But you lot disagreed. Nearly a third of you thought that the C43 was the best looking car in the grid, and that was more than the first 5 cars on this list put together. The change from last year is quite simple. White is now black, but the red remains and the writing everywhere is still white. I do think that it looks cracking from the top, and it's a nice change from the procession of red and white Alfa Romeo corporate liveries. It's also quite nice that in the last year that we have an Alfa Romeo on the grid, it's come out on top. If you disagree, and you didn't vote, well, that's kind of your problem, isn't it? The poll is actually still open on GRNR, and it's linked in the description here, so if you want to go and change that, go. Or if you just want to let us know what you love or loathe, then do that in the comments. And we'll see you for the start of the 2023 Formula 1 season.